or Medicare. Um, but with those, they do pay a large amount or basically all of, for some medications, the payment. But with some medications, they don't, and there's still um, that amount that, although it's small, clients still have to come up with. Obviously, with C, she was not able to sustain a job in any capacity. So she was pushed into spaces where honestly she shouldn't have been pushed into because she needed to come up with the money to get these really, if you think about it, life-saving um, medicines because she was medicated while she was there, but if she was unmedicated, she was truly a threat to her own life and would constantly be IBC'd. So I had no idea that until I had to connect clients with these resources that that was going on. There's another client that would constantly, he was also schizophrenic, would constantly have to be IBC'd or do something insane in order to be put into a mental hospital for the weekend, just so he could gain access to these, again, medications that he needed. But again, this was something that I would have never known until I identified a need and sat down with this client and tried to connect him with the resource and found out, you know, it's just not an option. Another reason behind why these clients might have to do things like that that I learned about was um, obviously everyone has a reason for homelessness. Um, some people have really rough stories or are kind of barred by um, arrest history or their mental health from helping agencies because they receive bans. That is something that I had no idea about. I had no idea that you could be banned from a hospital, social services, all these things. So, I mean, that is a reason why people would end up at Hospitality House. But again, until I was trying to connect clients with resources, I had no about. I think that to kind of end the section and slide about what I personally learned, I think it helped a lot with my social anxiety, um, which is a huge thing that I needed help with. Um, with my social work career as a whole, I was homeschooled, and then I had a very different childhood where I was never socialized. And then once I got to high school, it was taken away by COVID. So something that I kind of needed to learn at my agency was how to have surface level conversations. I tend to take the back seat in conversation, in interactions and not guide them. I kind of let other people do that for me. But obviously, having to take on the role of navigating someone else through um, gaining access to something, I had to take on that role. And after constantly being put in that place, it really, really helped me take more initiative in social interaction. And that was something that was very, very helpful. I was also able to gain access to so many different social workers and databases through um, being asked questions maybe I didn't know, and having to find things like um, the Child Welfare Clearinghouse of California, which is a database that has resources for pretty much everything. I would have never known until I was asked by clients questions that I didn't know about connecting clients with resources. That was a huge help. I was, again, asked questions I didn't know. So when social workers from Boone would come in, I would sit them down and be like, can I ask you a question? I need help finding a resource for this client. So that gave me the connection with their contact information. And the point I'm getting to is another piece of learning that I came away with is how crucially important it is to keep tabs on all of these connections that you make. Um, connections with Daymark, connections with all of these mental health care coordinators, taking down their name, their number, especially these social workers, and also things like the databases. And I think that that is something that's going to be like so helpful, not only in finishing out my time at the agency, but um, is something that's going to be helpful to put in my tool belt for my whole professional social work career. To have these people that I can call up and ask. And that's something that I didn't think of until I was in this agency, having to be put in a place where I didn't know these resources and I was forced to ask people. But this brings me to my next slide, which is strengths and weaknesses. Um, I think that my main strengths um, are empathy and compassion, um, client-centered approach, active listening, um, dedication to learning, which is something was definitely developed as I was there. I didn't start out that way, and respectful communication. I think as far as areas of growth go, I think I'm still young. I'm still at my first agency, so I think that they might kind of outweigh. Um, but that's okay. I'm learning. Advocacy, confidence, as far as areas of growth. Um, Professional assertiveness is something that I definitely need to work on. I think that I'm getting better at that, but I really need to be more assertive. Navigating conflicts. I think that maybe I back down a lot from conflict. I'm really good at resolving um, and mediating conflict between two other clients. But when it comes to clients having a conflict with me, I don't set boundaries and I just back down, which is something that I definitely need to work on, which is something that I learned through connecting. Um, Time management and especially under pressure, I think, and self-care and emotional boundaries. So I think that's a huge one that I learned because I would become so obsessed with trying to find these clients that I cared so much about that I was case managing the resources that they need that I would take it home and be calling up, like I said, all these churches and all these different agencies, like searching. And that was something that was so unhealthy for me. So unhealthy that I am so thankful that I learned now, and not when I was in my job, because I think that would have destroyed me. Um, but to kind of end this piece of strengths and weaknesses, um, I think that it might be a hand-in-hand type of thing where it's a strength and a weakness and kind of a superpower in a way. But I think that a strength and that could be looked at as a weakness that I have is really being vulnerable when I don't know something. So when I'm sitting down with a client and they ask me, you know, I only have documentation that is a document that they gave me straight out of prison. That's the only documentation I have. It has my name, it has my birth date, it has my picture, but that's all I have. How can I gain access to all these resources that I'm looking for? And me saying, you know what? I'm not sure, but we can figure this out together. And as soon as I would do that, I could visually see um, the body language relax, the breathing change. And it's because I think that I made myself more approachable, relatable, and human by doing that instead of saying, I'll get back to you on that, and kind of making up a lie. When it's like a shared experience, I think that it built a lot more rapport, and that is such an important thing that I learned through um, connecting clients with resources when I didn't know what I was doing, making that clear to a client and saying, you know what, not even I know. These these resources can be put in verbiage that are so hard to understand or are so hard to access that I think we all have problems with accessing them. And I think that was a huge piece of what I learned. Um, But yes, that was my closing discussion. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Um, and yeah.